welcome back to Otaku no Video. As always, thank you very much for joining me for my review of Macross Plus, the classic anime OVA that came out in Japan in 1995. Now, legend has it that Macross Plus was made because of the absolute stunning debacle that was Macross 2, an OVA that came out a few years prior that didn't have any of the original staff in it. It was kind of made just to capitalize on Macross. And apparently Shoji Kawamori, one of the creators of Macross, was so horrified at how Macross 2 turned out that he basically said, we're going to make an OVA and show how to do this right. So he made Macross Plus. And boy, did he succeed. This anime has just movie-like direction in terms of the shots and camera angles and all that. This feels like a movie. I very quickly stopped thinking in terms of anime and started thinking in terms of movie and really well-directed television, in terms of how communication or things are communicated in this. And it also thinks about lighting, color, things like that in a more movie-like way. Now that's interesting because anime tends to have very bright colors. You think of the colors in, especially like a kid's anime, very bright, very strong colors. In a film, the colors usually aren't that bright. Look around here. The colors aren't really vivid. So Macross Plus strikes this wonderful balance between strong colors that aren't really bright and cartoony. It feels much more realistic, which is an element of Macross Plus all the way through. It's only 4-episode OVA, so you don't have too much time. And it tells this very mature, sophisticated story about characters who are complex and realistic. Nobody's good or bad here. It focuses on 3 main characters: Isamu, who is a test pilot, and a very arrogant test pilot at that; Gould, who is a very calm, collected test pilot; and Myung, who is kind of caught between the 3 of them, or the 2 of them. And they all have a past together, and and no spoilers here, but there's other stuff going on. And you have these 2 very competitive test pilots, each testing different mecha and kind of competing against each other. And then Myung doesn't want to choose between them, and she's a music producer for a virtuoid idol. It's basically a Vocaloid. Yes, Macross Plus basically invented the Vocaloid concept. So what I love is that Isamu is a jerk a lot of the time. He is portrayed as someone who is often not really likable, but he's sympathetic in a lot of ways. And Gould, while being very closed and clammed up and very serious, his point is that Isamu, as this complete self-absorbed jerk, is not an effective test pilot. He doesn't have the cool, calm collectedness that you need to be a test pilot and to get good data and so forth. He's got a point. And Myung is in this terrible position. So it's this really thoughtful story. It's about characters that feel real. It's not cartoony. It's mature, sophisticated storytelling, which is wonderful. And one of the things I really appreciate is that often in here, what's communicated is what's left unsaid. Characters will go to say something, or they'll say half of a line and stop, or they'll say something and somebody else will react with an expression. And a lot is communicated through facial expression, which a lot of visual media, video media, ignores. They will tend to use dialogue to get that across instead of relying on acting or facial expression to get that across. Macross Plus really knows how to do that, to tell stories through what characters seem to be feeling, which is just so rare and so effective. And it helps you to think. It helps you to get into those characters because you're now wondering, what does that character think? Why does that character look sad? You know? Because the character isn't saying, I feel sad. He's just sitting in a corner feeling sad. So that's one of the great things about Macross Plus. What's also interesting is that there are no big epic alien threats in this. It's about test pilots and the girl caught between them, if you will. It's a very human story, which for a 4-episode OVA fits very, very well. There's action because these test pilots are piloting these mecha that are still sort of under development, and it fits perfectly for the length of the story they're trying to tell. It's wonderful. And things get increasingly dramatic as the story moves on. This is a more story-driven anime than most Shoji Kawamori things that I've seen. He tends to be a bit more character-driven. And in this, the character stuff is definitely there, but there's a lot of plot going on as well. And I would say that there's more plot-driving stuff than character stuff, which again works for something like this very well. It also has the advantage of a very strong English dub. This was one of the first anime that was dubbed in English, where the English dub was considered very solid. And you can hear, I mean, there are some classic anime voice actors in here, as it turns out. And I just recently rewatched some of Macross Plus, and the voice acting, I mean, it's not up to par of recent dubbing, but it's certainly not a problem. It's certainly something you can listen to. And there's some very strong stuff, particularly Isamu is spot on all the way through. It also has music by Yoko Kanno. Yeah. Cowboy Bebop, Wolf's Rain, Escaflowne, Macross Frontier, her. And Macross Plus is this wonderful big orchestral soundtrack for most of the regular background music, which is great for these big soaring test pilot sequences. For the Vocaloid Idol, she does this wonderful sort of techno synth pop, which is really weird and out there and unlike anything I'd heard before, and is beautiful and weird and sort of synthetic, but also kind of emotional, and it's interesting. So those are my views on Macross Plus. As you can tell, I'm fairly impressed. I love Macross Plus. I love it, and it is mature, sophisticated storytelling. You may not like it because there's mecha and so forth in it. That's absolutely fine, but this is definitely anime that's firing on all cylinders in every way, shape, and form. So those are my thoughts on Macross Plus. If you've seen it, want to talk about it, or want to talk about anime and manga in general, please stop by otakunovideo.net. And Macross Plus is available in general. There have been quite a few releases, so you can find it used on Amazon, things like that. And I hope you enjoy, and until next time, may you get the transient facts.